everybody, and happy Thursday to you. How are you doing? So welcome to my office, our little studio here in Orange County. It's so great to see you all and talk to you today. So I wanted to talk about something that many of you probably saw on the news yesterday, was the grand lotto winning. Actually, I was coming back from a conference and I get home and my husband says, "Hey, do you think we should buy lotto?" And I said, you know, what's the purse amount? And I know now that we know that it closed at about $758 million. So let me ask you, how many of you invested in that? How many of you put money away and bought some tickets? I know certainly at my family we did. I talked to some of my colleagues here in the office and I guess we missed it, because typically what we do is we try to pool, like everybody will put in $1 and we'll pool and buy tickets, or I'll buy some tickets and we'll share it amongst everybody. But we didn't win yesterday, and I'm guessing many of you didn't win as well, unless you are one of the lucky individuals coming to me from, I think, 90 miles west of Boston, because that was where the winning ticket, the sole winning ticket, was won last night for $758 million. Now that is certainly a life-changing amount. But even though perhaps you're like me and we didn't win, there are certainly a lot of other ways to come into sudden wealth or windfalls of wealth. You know, I've had clients actually, believe it or not, win winnings in Las Vegas. Others, you know, have had their companies bought out by competing companies or other acquiring companies, and they came into windfalls. It could be inheritance that you inherit from a family member or a friend, and just monies that perhaps you didn't originally plan to come into. It could even be from a real estate sale, which I know many of my clients are experiencing right now. You know, I always think it's important to talk about things ahead of time and to be properly prepared about your money as early as you can, because when you're talking about it now, right, many of you are joining me perhaps from your office or home, and maybe from your laptop or your phone. I don't know where you're joining me from, but you may be just in a good place, and you're probably in a very zen place right now, because you're not in a situation where you have to plan that $758 million or whatever the amount may be that you might come to. So the question is, what are some things that you should know about now in anticipation of perhaps winning one day? So I like to talk about this now. And in fact, this is a great conversation to have with your loved ones, with other people that you work with, because these sort of strategies not only pertain to windfalls, but a lot of these strategies actually work with many aspects of financial planning. So there was an article that came out today in the news that said there's a big difference between wealth planning and just traditional financial planning. And I couldn't agree with that more. And why that's important is because when you reach a certain level in your life, or in your lives, you're a married couple, or with your other partners, there will be situations where you're doing financial planning for the basics, right? But as you accumulate additional wealth, like many of my clients are high net worth individuals, at that stage, things start to change. It's actually then called managing wealth. And it's not just managing money, but also managing risk and managing your entire lifestyle to make sure that not only do you never run out of money, but also that it fits with your daily privacy, it deals with your taxes. All these components come into play. So probably my very first tip I would offer you, if you happen to win the lotto, or you're one of, I think they said there's over 9 million people who also did win a share of the prize, and these 9 million people are sharing about $135 million of this overall prize. So even if you won some, these are some of the tips that you should consider. Number one, if it pertains to lotto, you should certainly, number one, sign your ticket. This is a great habit to do in general. So if you decide that you want to, what I call play lotto or buy a lotto ticket, make sure to sign it first and foremost. Really, really important thing. Probably makes a lot of sense to do this with a permanent marker like a Sharpie, right? Write your name on it, write your information. So if for some reason you win, it's absolutely not contested, all right? So number one, that's the big one. Now number two, pertains to not just even winning lotto, but any sort of windfall. Number two is a big one. absolutely, if you can, retain your privacy. Make privacy your like #1 goal. Now, many states don't allow you to stay private if you do win the lotto, but there are some states that do. But let's say it's not a lotto and it's from inheritance or from a business sale. As much as you can, try to keep your information and who you are completely personal, completely private. If you can, there are some options if you plan early where you could have some of the assets or monies coming to you titled in a name different like than yourself. It could be a company. It could even be a living trust, and a living trust doesn't have to be named your name. For example, my name is Winnie Sun. It doesn't have to be the Winnie Sun Trust. It could be the Purple Bottle Trust. It could be completely different than your name. So you want to talk to an estate planning trust specialist on how to best handle that, but that's something that you can discuss and something to consider. So really important, right? You don't want people on your doorstep too soon when you haven't planned everything out, asking you for money, asking you for comment, and not only that, there's also safety reasons why you want to do this, especially those of you who have children as well. So some things to think about, all right? The other thing I would say is an important component is just to really stay calm and plan. You know, a lot of times clients will come to us and some of them just come with this nervous energy about it. And for total reasonable reasons. It could be, you know, they've just gone through a divorce or they've come into some inheritance, and there's so many emotional feelings towards this that it's very hard to feel calm, and I get that. But as much as you can, try to really stay calm. Try to really focus on taking this step by step, mapping this out. And probably the best way to do that is to create a team, all right? So that's what I really want to tell you. So before you turn in your winning ticket, or before you sign the papers, or before you have the money transmitted to account, it's a good idea to think about building out your team. Now, your team can be a lot of different things, but let me tell you about the two main people in your team. I'll tell you the two main financial people, but probably the most important thing is to have somebody in your corner, a family member or someone else who you know that you can discuss this with privately and comfortably without judgment and without any other agendas, right? Now that's really important. But the two main financial players that you must have on your team are, number one, a tax team, okay, a tax professional. Now this could be and probably will be not the person that you've had for years filing your taxes. I know many of you work with a company that I absolutely adore, Intuit, TurboTax, and you file your own taxes. Even more reason to have someone help you. Now I really recommend that at this stage you meet with someone who is comfortable and familiar with dealing with larger estates. There are a lot of complexities when dealing with larger wealth versus traditional, very simple returns, right? It's no different than if you had a company. If you had a small company versus a large company, will your team be prepared to help you at different stages of your wealth creation, right? So, and a financial advisor team is your component number two. So I always tell my clients, one of the advantages of working with my team is we've worked with individuals who are just starting off all the way to publicly traded companies. So we have the experience from small to very, very large. So regardless of what stage you are in terms of wealth, you won't need to change your team, you won't need to change your advisor, you will continue to be able to grow with us. So that's really crucial. You wanna make sure that whoever you work with has worked with other people such as yourself, other large situations, other complexities, so that they can ask those challenging questions that you might not know what to ask, so that we can best serve you and you can really have a partnership relationship as you manage this wealth, because this is very, very serious. If it's done properly, it can completely change your life and those around you and those other causes that are important to you. If it's not done properly, you've all heard those stories where people win these lottos or have these windfalls and they completely, it destroys their lives. Not even just from a financial standpoint, but from other personal and other aspects as well. And we want to avoid that, right? As long as we can plan early. First things first, you want to find that team. And you might say, well, how do I find that team? Well, I want to invite you to actually check out my YouTube station. I do have a video on how to identify the best advisors for yourself. And of course, if you have any questions on this, you can always reach out. I'm happy to take that call and to kind of walk you through that process to see if we actually could be that fit for you from a financial planning standpoint, because we do specialize in working with the high net worth. Now, first things first, in terms of planning the money, these are some things that you should think about today, because this will all take place in phases. But overall, some of these things that you might want to think about when planning for your finances, right? What are some things that you ought to do? I think a lot of times people jump the gun. They'll say, okay, I want to do this and this and this, I want to give out this money. But I think we need to step back and first develop a plan. So number one thing I would say is obviously to assess your overall financial picture. Do you have any debt? Now, for many of you who have been very mindful and really savvy with your finances, you're actually really good with money. You actually don't have that much debt. But for many of us, especially here on the West Coast, we all have larger mortgages, right? Because property just isn't inexpensive in Silicon Valley or Los Angeles or New York. Property is expensive. For many of us, we do have that mortgage debt. First and foremost, you want to assess what all your debt is. Car loans, real estate loans. It could be taking care of our parents in the future. It could be a long-term care that we weren't able to provide for in the past, but now with this windfall, we want to do that. So do a list of your ideal, most important necessity spends, right? What do you need to spend on now that you have this money that you absolutely isn't a luxury, but actually something you must take care of? So debt, taking care of family members, maybe other things that you've wanted to do, that's what this goes into. That's number one, to create that budget in mind, right? The other thing you want to do is you want to, once you have your financial advisor team in place, really get smart about structuring income streams. Now, I do this for my clients, not only for clients that have windfalls, but also clients that who continue to accumulate large sums of wealth, right? I have a lot of power couples, I have a lot of business owner entrepreneurs who have steady income coming in. And so what we want to do is we want to create future income streams with this money, right? So instead of not just diversifying your investments, but also diversifying your income streams. Now, when you aren't working and you're living off your wealth, what does it translate to mean? This means a couple different things. I mean, you want to prepare for income to take care of your bare necessities, as well as other income streams to handle things that luxuries or things that you want to do. So for example, you might have one account set up that has consistent income coming every single month, and that money directly goes to pay off all your basics, your utilities, your cell phone bill, your, I don't know, tuition for your children, or whatever other expenses that need to go out that can happen on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis, right? So you create that income stream for that. The other thing you would do is you would create another account to provide for the unexpected. So this other account could provide for things like unexpected health scares or home renovations and whatnot, and earmark that account and title that account. Really key. This is a really great technique. If you don't do this already, even though you haven't accumulated tremendous wealth, start titling things. If you title things, it'll make it so much easier because you have a game plan and you know what the money is earmarked for, and it also tends to make it so that you don't dip into it when you don't really need to. You know exactly what that purpose is for. So you want to create these different accounts, have the monies properly managed, properly diversified, the goal in mind for that particular account, and the time horizon, risk tolerance, all those components. So if this is done properly, you essentially have a roadmap of where money is coming from and what purpose this is for. The nice thing about this is you don't make erratic and sudden purchases and cover expenses that weren't mapped out. Now, another component will be obviously any charity work that you want to be, charitable causes. This could be your giving account. So you want to create that as well, and that way things are structured. How do you want to give? For those of you who want to give, how do you select the charities that you want to give? There needs to be a structure here too, because what's going to happen is when people around you realize that you have wealth, you will suddenly find yourself to be extremely popular, more beautiful than you were ever in the past, because people want to be around you, and they might have really great causes that are close and dear to their hearts they want to share with you to get your attention. So you really want to be smart about how to do this. You not only want to give, but you want to have a process of giving. You want to have a process in place on how to screen the appropriate charities that you want to give to, make sure the money is going to where you want that money to go to, and you have a whole screening or filtering process to evaluate charities each and every year if you want to continue to give for many, many years, okay? So those are some things to think about. Very, very important. It doesn't even matter if your windfall is 50,000, 100,000, 500, 50 million. There needs to be some basics in place so that you don't get overwhelmed, because when you get overwhelmed, you make costly mistakes. This is especially true for some of my younger clients who are big social media influencers that have sudden large checks come in. I work with some professional athletes that have sudden inflows of cash. So it's really important that we have this mapped out for you. So really when the money's come in, it goes into a specific funnel and everything is distributed as it should be when you plan at a very zen, calm place. The other thing I would say, and this is the last one, don't give up your day job yet, okay? Until you have everything mapped out and everything's working, you're starting to receive the monies on time, and literally you're committed to it. Unless you absolutely just cannot stand your job, don't give it up. There's some gifts about working, right? There's that social aspect. It gives you something to do every day. For many of us, it's also just a way of life, right? So until you're in a situation you absolutely know you're going to be responsible with your money, it's planned accordingly, and everything's working as you expected, don't give up your day job. Instead, perhaps you can get just really smart about your finances, and that could be something that keeps you quite busy, and at that point you can consider whether to pare down or to walk away from your job completely and to plan your next chapter. So as always, I hope this information was helpful to you. I hope that you stay wealthy and wise always and forever, right? And as always, please do follow me here on Facebook and check out our YouTube channel. I think you're gonna really like it. There's some really cool videos out there teaching you all aspects of financial planning. So I hope you jump on there as well. And as always, if this information was helpful, please share it with a friend, because you don't know. Sometimes sharing with someone else at the right moment can make all the difference. So thank you so much. Have an incredible week, and I will talk to you very soon.